what's it called? Like it's just popularity contest. You only
It
care
really
about...
is. It's the story contest, like who can have the best story for the year. Oh my God, bro, you got it. You got it. That's what you needed.
That's the clip.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here. It's episode 8, Former Athletes Podcast. I'm here with the guys. I'm your host, Cam Graham. To the right, we got Durner. What up, Durner?
What up, fellas? What's up? What's up?
That was not an echo.
What's up? Up.
And down bottom, we got Nick. What up, Nick?
What's up, guys? Happy to be here for the Lamar Jackson episode. Let's go.
Hey, let's go.
I
Shout out
couldn't forget it, bro.
Hey, shout out Kyle Ripken, too. Don't forget my man, Kyle Ripken.
Great eights from the state of Maryland.
Let's go, baby. And down bottom, we also got Jonathan. What's good, Jonathan?
Hello.
Okay.
I don't know if he was making fun of Durner or not.
I was. If that was not clear.
That's fine.
He's actually been thinking about that intro ever since last week. He's like, how do I switch it up?
Durner's okay with it because I embarrass myself, so it's all good.
Hey, podcast approved, I guess. All right, so let's get right into it then. So we had a big trade this weekend in the NFL. San Francisco 49ers traded up to the number 3 pick in the draft. And, a lot of experts are saying they're moving up to pick a quarterback. We got a couple good quarterbacks this year. We got Trevor Lawrence. We got Justin Fields. We got Zach Wilson. We got Trey Lance. We got Mac Jones. Well, today, Durner, you're going to learn today, buddy. You're going to learn today. So today, Mac Jones and Justin Fields, they both had their pro day, and San Francisco was there. I will make a note that John Lynch, San Francisco's GM, and Kyle Shanahan, their head coach, went to Mac Jones's pro day, and their assistant GM was at Justin Fields' pro day. Anyway, with that being said, a lot of people are thinking that maybe Mac Jones is the guy they're going to take at number 3 from Alabama. Some people are saying maybe Justin Fields would be the better choice. And after the pro day today, it seems like Mac Jones kind of shit the bed. Oof. And Justin Fields ran a 4.40, which I feel like – I'm not even going to say I feel like. Some people are saying that might solidify him as the third best quarterback and who San Francisco needs to take. So with that being said, though, I would like to propose a question to the group. I'll start with you, Durner. How much weight do a combine number hold to whether you're going to draft a player? The guy ran a 4.40. He's fast. Does that matter as a quarterback? The guy had a couple bad throws on his pro day. Does that matter as a quarterback? Like, how much would you weigh if you were picking a guy?
Personally, I don't think those numbers really matter in the first place. They're it's a simulated exercise what they're doing at the combine, right? It's not in real time, real gameplay. So personally, I think the combine completely is just doesn't matter regardless of what numbers, how fast they are. It doesn't simulate to real time, like in a real game, right? So for me to go to somebody's pro day and think, oh, well, you know what? He had a couple bad throws. Let's see what the other fucking guy's doing. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't matter to me.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's there. He's got, multiple NFL scouts, looking at him. I feel like that's a lot of pressure to, handle under that situation. I mean, shit, you're in the NFL, though. You got to be able to handle the pressure for real, but I think you can't determine, off of one day whether the dude's a good quarterback or not.
Right. I don't think that's fair to the players, specifically a quarterback, right? They're probably the most scouted position throughout this whole process. And I personally don't think it's a fair look for them for 1 day or 2 days, however long they get. I don't think it's fair.
Go ahead.
The biggest difference to me is, sorry, Jonathan, I'll let you have it in just a second. I'm going to bring something up, and maybe this will go off of what you'd be interested in saying. The combine numbers, maybe not, but you got to think, when people are going to the combine, there's so many players there, right? So there's a lot of scouts, there's a lot of NFL people that are in the building, which does add some pressure, right? But there's so many people performing in the combine, and it's really just like looking at your athletic ability, which does count for something.
Sure.
But the pro day is completely different because it's your team and players that you've played with already. Therefore, you should know how to throw the ball to them as a quarterback. You should have been doing this for at least 3 years, because NFL, you got to play in college 3 years before you can go into the draft, correct?
Right.
Yep.
So 3 years you've had with this personnel, even if you had, for some reason, like a rookie or a freshman out there running routes for him, you still had a whole year on him. But now you have the added pressure of people are coming pretty specifically for you, or a handful of players, so all eyes are on you. Which, when you're playing in college, yeah, that's a lot of pressure, but if you're playing at an Alabama or a big school like that, you're used to being the top dog. Like, the pressure is typically on the other team to not just come get smashed by Alabama. Yeah. Now it's a whole different thing, because if you've been doing well, if you're on a good team like that, chances are you're going to be going to a shitty team. So if you can't handle the pressure of having some scouts, some GMs, some coaches there, I don't know how that's necessarily going to translate to playing in front of a bunch of fans for a probably underperforming team at the point that you go to them. And there being pressure on, it's an NFL season. If you mess up a game or two, you're pretty much putting yourself out of contention. You go ahead, Jonathan. I'll expand on that after you say what you got to say.
No, I think this is a perfect segue, because I absolutely agree with what you're saying, right? Like, the combine numbers do matter, because how fast you run is dependent upon how much training you put in before the combine, right?
True.
Like that. Like I don't just wake up and run a 4.4. I run a 4.0, but like I don't run a 4.4. but the point is, you don't. There's a lot that goes into this, right? It's leading up to this one day, and I definitely agree with you, Durner, that one day it's all or nothing, right? Like, you're either getting in or you're not. Like, I think that sucks, but at the same time, you're about to be in the NFL in front of like the brightest lights, the biggest stage, a lot of pressure. If you can't perform on combine day, like when there's like a couple people looking at you, I don't know how you're going to handle it being, the starting quarterback in the Super Bowl, right? Like, obviously there's a lot between those two, like, time periods, but like, you got to be ready for the pressure. And I think that's, been pretty consistent with most of these athletes, right? They're here for a reason, because they are in that spotlight to begin with. So I think it matters, but I definitely see your point, Durner, where it sucks that it could all make it or break it. Like, if you have a bad day or a bad week for whatever reason, that you could just not get drafted, or you get drafted low, that's terrible. But at the same time, like, that's kind of the nature of the beast.
If you're San Francisco though, and you move up like to number 3 in the draft, like, so I don't know if everybody knows this, but like, there's two things I love about football. It's the Ravens, and like, I love the draft too. I don't know why, but I think the draft is awesome. Just seeing young kids like coming into the league and like, hey, you're about to make your big break and make millions of dollars and like training, and like, I like watching them when their name gets called. I think it's cool. So, but that's one thing I do love.
It is cool.
Yeah. So I love the draft and like seeing these, seeing like the process of it. And so if you're San Francisco, you just moved up from the 12 spot to the 3 spot to pick what everybody is saying, to pick a quarterback. That's the only reason they really moved up to 3, was to pick a quarterback. And it was said to be that like Mac Jones was their guy. They didn't want him to fall, even though a lot of people are saying he's the 5th best quarterback option in the draft. Not even total player. He's the 5th best quarterback option. But it seems all signs were pointing to that move was made to get Mac Jones. You go to his pro day and he shits the bed. You have your assistant GM at Justin Fields' pro day, and meanwhile he runs a 4.40 and has a decent pro day. Now on tape, Justin Fields is like more athletic and like he's got a decent arm, but he makes a lot of plays with his feet. He moves around in the pocket, but he's blown in some big games before. Like, he's done that in his college career overall. Now, Mac Jones has only had 1 year of starting at Alabama. They went undefeated. They won the national championship. He finished, I think, 2nd or 3rd in Heisman Trophy voting. So, like, he's not necessarily the better prospect, but he's like a winner. And both of them aren't really proven yet. So you're San Francisco, though, you move up. You're saying this guy had a shit, combined or pro day. Are we still going to take him with number 3? Or are we going to take the dude that runs the 4.40, even though he had some bad starts in his college career?
I think you look at the better prospect, even though, like, you have a national winning national championship quarterback, or a guy who had a really good pro day, right? But has blown some big games in his past seasons. It's like it's kind of a pros and cons situation. It's like, do I take the guy who's seasoned and has won in big pressure times, a national championship game?
Yeah.
Or do you
Justin
take?
Fields.
Yeah, but so Derner, who are you taking? You're answering the question with a question, bro. Who are you taking? You laying it out for us. Which guy do you want?
Yeah, if you're San
I'm taking the
Francisco,
national championship guy.
Okay, taking Mac Jones. Okay.
Even though he kind of shit the bed. Bro, I look at it like this. Okay, this might be an obscure example, but follow me on this one. Say Mac Jones was an intern for San Francisco, and instead of that being a football team, they were a law practice. Okay, so they say, hey, we're gonna have you help out. You're not a lawyer, but we're gonna have you help out on some cases to see how intuitive you are, right? And they're like, wow, this guy's pretty good. All of the cases that he was on got resolved. It was the correct answer. And then he goes to take the bar, and he fails. He shits the bed. You're not a lawyer now. It doesn't matter how much they invested in you. You aren't a lawyer. It doesn't matter if you were a good intern and you helped out on these cases. You know what I mean? As opposed to, say, Justin Field, he goes out, he maybe didn't do that well. As he was learning, he's still a kid. You know what I'm saying? These college kids, even though they're football players, so they're enormous. They're literally 6'5", built like larger than I'll ever be. But they're still, they're still kids. You know what I mean? They're still learning. Yeah. And people that really have that drive to do well, and Jonathan brought up a good point about you're essentially like auditioning. Like, if you're going to be a professional, you should be treating the time between when the season ends to when your combine, pro day, potentially getting drafted is like you're in the NFL. You know what they say? Yeah. Play, or you want to perform to the position you want to be in, right? So if I want to be an NFL starting quarterback, I need to be training like that up until this point. And if you get to that day and you're underprepared with your own team and you shit the bed, and for my example, fail the bar exam, that's got to go into consideration versus somebody who, that's another couple months of growth. They're showing that they're determined to do well, and there's a lot of room to improve. And, once football is your life, in this example of the NFL, to continue to get better. So I would almost lean towards Justin Fields because he's clearly the more gifted athletic person, and there's diminishing returns on some of these players. Like, I'll just use myself as an example. I was a beast at baseball and Little League because I was bigger than everybody. And then once we got older, everybody was the same size. I was like, pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that doesn't just exist in Little League or, your junior sports and then high school. Like, that continues on throughout all of your sporting life. Some people peak in college and they go, we see it all the time. They go to the NFL because they're really good, or they go to a different sport. I don't want to call this man out, but like Adam Morrison back in the day at Gonzaga was like literally a beast. I think he got drafted like second by the Lakers and was trash in the NBA. That stuff happens. So everything is a gamble, and Cam made a good point about like, oh, that's the fifth best quarterback according to all the experts. But if that's your guy, that's your guy. Because Lamar got drafted 30th, and if they redo the draft, he ain't getting drafted 30th. I don't even remember the other quarterbacks in that draft, but Lamar's got to be the best one. So that type of stuff happens. So you take them when you can get them if you think that that's that guy. And, all that being said, loop back around. Based off of how these people are performing in what is essentially now the most pressure situation of their career, I think you want to take the person that's on the upward trajectory rather than the plateau or maybe even a downward trajectory.
And I think to that point... Oh, go ahead.
And sorry to cut you off, man.
No,
but get it together, guys. It's a podcast.
Talk
when it's ready to go.
Fuck you guys. I'm talking now. And I'm going to take the screen. Anyways, going to your point, though, we see, I feel like we see so many times, and specifically in the NFL, we see a lot of number one draft picks, like quarterbacks who are these highly scouted individuals. They get to the NFL and they shit the bed. I don't remember who the last time a top QB in college has gone and had a really good career, for instance, right? For instance, like Tim Tebow.
Heisman winner, and didn't translate.
Heisman winner, and won a couple national championships and everything. Drafted high, and then didn't do anything. Obviously, in the NFL, went and played baseball, didn't do anything.
So what do we consider like college success though? Like what do you consider like a top tier guy? Because for example, Andrew Luck like never won the Heisman or anything, but everybody was like, oh yeah, like that dude was like a top level quarterback in college and came out and was said to be a top guy. Yeah. And outside of him getting the shit kicked out of him because of his offensive line sucked, like he was good, but then he retired early. But I mean he won a bust, and also like to your point, if winning the Heisman Trophy is like the pinnacle of college, Lamar won the Heisman, so. Let's go, baby.
Let's get it.
Yeah,
with the Lamar episode showing up.
Let's go, baby.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
I think. All right. Well, I'll just take that alley oop and
It wasn't an alley oop, bro.
It was a fumble.
Banged off the backboard real hard at you, and he's like, "I meant to do that."
Yeah, that was a fumble.
That was Paul George in the playoffs, dog.
Offside the backboard. It's all good. I think. We make a lot of good, compelling arguments for, the sake of the players. But something Cam said earlier on still is in the back of my mind. Is you got to put yourself in the position of these GMs and these front offices, right? Who are you supposed to get? Are you supposed to get the guys, like, your guy? Or are you supposed to get the guy who's, like, doing way better consistently? Like, what are you supposed to do? I think, if you're someone like San Francisco, there's a lot of pressure on you, right? Like, you got fans, you got the office, like, there are expectations. Like, you got to win, and you got to win now. Bro, you got a pretty good squad, minus, the quarterback position. Like, do something now with that.
Yeah, bro, like, I don't mean to cut you off, but San Francisco's in a spot where they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They got a team ready to win. They got Jimmy G, who I guess they don't think is their guy. They just traded 3 first-round picks and the third-round pick to go up to get a quarterback to take them back to the Super Bowl. They were in the Super Bowl last year, but if they don't make a Super Bowl with this guy, if Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, whoever they take is a bust, they're fired. Like, there's no question, because they just screwed up a lot of years of draft picks. The Redskins did it back in the day when they traded up to get RG3. The Eagles did it when they traded up to get Carson Wentz. So, like, plenty of teams have done it. And if it's the wrong guy, Doug Peterson, gone in Philly. Whoever, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, they're the ones that drafted RG3, who's the same coach for the 49ers now. They're the ones who drafted RG3 back in Washington, obviously gone from there. So if that decision doesn't work out, that's their job. So they have to find their guy. Have to.
Yeah. And I think it's just because of that, it's such a difficult conversation, right?
Yep.
I mean, looking at like the Cleveland Browns, right? They went with their guy, right? And a lot of people were not high on Baker Mayfield, right? And some people still aren't very high on him, right? But one thing I know exactly. But one thing you can say though is like they are winning, they are turning it around, right? And so I think there is something to say that if you grab your guy and you think he can fit into the culture, I mean, and you think he's got some talent, like you can kind of train him to be where he needs to be, right? Like that's definitely still a possibility. But at the same time, when you make as big of a gamble as you do, like when you're the Browns, you have nothing to lose, right? You were already in last place. Guess what? If you're still in last place, who the freak cares? You're the Browns, right? But like with San Francisco, like you gotta get results now, right? So like there is no time to make mistakes. Like this is your one shot before a lot of people start jumping off the bandwagon.
Dude, I'll tell you what, in 2 years, mark my words on this one, in 2 years, whoever they take, if they're not like NFC championship game or better, like they're going to be considered a bust, dude. Like not considered a bust. It's going to be considered a bad trade. Even if they go 8-8 with a guy next year, they're still going to say like, okay, the following year, his second year in the league, that's the year he's got to go. He's got to be in the NFC championship game because they have the team around him. They're not paying this guy yet. If they could go 10-6 and lose in the first round, and people are going to be like, oh, did they go up and get the right guy? The questions will happen.
Yeah.
What about the Ravens?
What do you mean? Ravens ain't trade up to get their guy. Their guy fell in their lap.
Yeah.
Busted.
What? Wait a second. What did we just say?
He's trolling. He's got to be trolling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't entertain this man. I would like to make a point on this real quick, and it's slightly off topic from our main point of like how much do you consider the pro day and the combine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If I'm a coach or a GM, you know, the people in charge of what I'm doing with these picks, I'm gonna seriously consider looking at these people in the combine and such, and trading my pick for somebody that's already good, bro. Like to me, that's the simplest thing. And I mean, Deshaun Watson's still sitting around in Texas. I haven't been keeping up with that story entirely, but like, if you've got the third pick now, is that not enticing to a team like the Texans to go ahead and take Deshaun off your hands that doesn't want to be there, and now they can decide who their guy's going to be with the third pick, and it's not nearly as much pressure on the Texans? Like,
for
might
sure,
be in
but
some legal trouble as well.
yeah.
Talk about that. Oh,
Darren's
Anyway,
really choked up
put-
about it.
Hey, scrap it.
Yeah, put the legal stuff on the side. Like, you know, I hope
Yeah.
he didn't do anything wrong, or I hope those women are okay. Like, I hope it all gets resolved.
Oh,
but if you eliminate that from the conversation,
Right.
Deshaun Watson would be the same boat, though. You would have to trade an arm and a leg to get him. I mean, it's 3 or 4 you're trading more to get Deshaun Watson than you would to be getting those guys. Granted, you're getting a proven player that you know
more of
you're
a
gonna
sure
win.
thing. There's a chance that you draft this young man, whoever that ends up being, and he just absolutely shits the bed. There's also a chance that he does fantastic. The city embraces him, and he's the beacon of hope for your team for the next 10 to 12 years. But it's a coin flip.
Well,
And
here's
most
the
people are going to fall somewhere in between those two.
And here's the difference, though, is Deshaun Watson's contract. Like, he's making the big bucks now, and the quarterbacks are the highest paid. Obviously, there's a salary cap in the NFL. You draft a rookie, like, he's cheap. So you can build a lot of good players around him to where you're not doing that with Deshaun, you know? I mean, they still have a good team, you know, and you're still going to have Deshaun Watson, but you can put almost a super team around him and have this rookie, you know, ball out with that.
True.
Yeah.
Well, you know, speaking of super teams.
Speaking of super teams.
Call that a segue.
Hey,
You know what I'm saying? That's how you set it up, Durner. You don't just shove it on somebody. Just drop it in their lap.
very subtle, ready to go, very subtle. You know what I mean? Anyway, with that being said, the second subject we got is KD came out with a tweet. His tweet said, "I'll never be able to do anything that I really want to do on Earth by myself." Now, that's definitely wrong, KD. I'm sorry to tell you, but if we're talking about basketball wise, I think they're referring to, you know, LaMarcus Aldridge signing with the Nets, Blake Griffin obviously there, them trading for James Harden. He's now got a super team around him. There's the good transition right there. The super team around him. Well, Tom Brady came back on Instagram. He was like, absolutely right. It's always about the teamwork. And I think Tom Brady is one to speak on. He's won a bunch of rings. He knows a lot about teamwork, but he's also had, I mean, in Tampa Bay, you could consider possibly a super team. So
Possibly, bro.
I propose a question, like, what's the line between good teamwork and having a good team around you to win a championship, or building an unfair super team? Jonathan, take it away.
All right. Hear me out. You guys are not going to like me when I say this answer, but hear me out. There is no line. It's either you win or you lose, right? Do what you got to do to win, and if you don't win, then you didn't do enough, right? Kevin Durant, amazing basketball player. But is he expected to go to the Nets by himself and, like, win all by himself? Like, I don't think that's fair, right? Like, LeBron, yeah, like, basically, they're... I just had to bring up LeBron to bring you guys in.
Hell yeah.
Basically, there is no issue. People talking trash about Blake Griffin and Aldridge, and like, oh, they're washed out, like, they can't do anything. It's like, they're just name brands, right? It's like, okay, like, what are we getting so upset about, right? If you're the Nets, you are just trying to put yourself in a position where you win. If you're Kevin Durant, you just want to play basketball, and you want to play with the best people, because guess what? You enjoy high-caliber basketball. Why would you want to play basketball with a bunch of trash players, right? You want to have a good team, because playing, like, I don't know if you guys have played on good teams and bad teams, but it's a lot more fun to play on a good team, right? I don't have to worry about someone grabbing the rebound and then running to half court to talk to LeBron at the end of the game, right? It's like, no, like, just put the ball back in and we can win this game, right? It's not fun being in those situations. Like, you would much rather find yourself in a winning position. And so, if we're going to get mad at him for getting all these players, then I think we should get mad at LeBron for starting something in Miami. I think we should get mad at LeBron for starting something in like, LA with AD. Like, it's all fun and games until like it's like wait oh crap.
Oh,
No.
technical difficulties.
RIP.
Keep it pushing.
It happens.
No.
But it's
Turner.
all fun and games.
Turner, that can't happen, dude. That cannot happen. Middle
Right.
of the podcast.
He's not even
Speaking
here.
of
He's
super
gone.
teams, I wish we had him here.
We apologize. Now we are now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
All good. Basically, my point is we can't get mad at anyone for wanting to just win a basketball game. If I would happily add stacked members. I'd stack my team any day to win because winning is fun. I enjoy winning, especially and they're good players, right? It's fun to play with good people.
Look, I'm going to agree with Jonathan, although he may have not thought this to start, but don't worry, I've got more for you, sir.
Oh.
So yeah, at face value, I think everybody wants to win, and in order to do that and to have fun, you want to play with the best players. Let's take it back once again to when you're children, right? So I'll use baseball because that's what I was the most successful at. I know that Cam will be able to relate, and we'll get to softball in a little bit. So we play baseball when we're younger, and then you get good, and then eventually, like most people do with other sports, if you're really good and you want to pursue it, you join a travel team. And what is that? That's the collection of all the best players from all these random places all on one team now. And you go out and you try to whoop people's ass. And as you do that, you come across other good players. And maybe you might smack the shit out of a team, but there's a good player or two on a team that you beat along the way, and you say, hey, why don't you guys come on over here, right? And they want to win, so they come and do it too. So basically your entire life, and then you play for a college team, and where do you go? The best team that you can go for and still play. You know what I mean? That's what people try to do. I mean, think about, we talked about Alabama earlier. That's literally been like a collection of the best football players in the country for the past 20 years. Like the best players, if you can go to Bama, you go to Bama type shit. So basically our whole life, up until professional sports, which is where I got to bow out of the conversation, you want to be on the best team, and you want to convince the best players to come and play on the best team. Me and Cam played softball together, and we were on a really good team, and it got to a point where it's like, we think we can be better than this. So we fucking bailed to go be a better team. You know what I mean? It's what everybody wants to do. I think it is instinctive in human nature. Where my issue comes in is once you're getting paid professionally to do this, right? Like you've reached the pinnacle. I think there's got to be some level of, and we'll go back to the Kevin Durant tweet that gets brought up all the time from like 2009, where he's like, everybody want to join the Heat. Everybody want to join the Lakers. Where's the competitive spirit? I don't know, KD. Where is it?
Yeah.
You tell me, bro. Where is it? Like once you get paid professionally, you're no longer trying to assemble these teams to smoke people so that you can be noticed. Like you're there. You've reached the pinnacle. And my biggest beef is in the way that this man worded this stuff is I'll never be able to do anything on earth by myself. You not playing basketball 1-on-5, KD. You got 4 other teammates. You need to utilize those teammates and their strengths. Shout out to LeBron. Thanks for bringing them up, Jonathan.
Let's go, baby.
You utilize these people to the best of their ability. You maximize their potential. Let's talk about Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, who were literally irrelevant for years prior to coming to the Lakers. They come to the Lakers, and now they are sought-after players. That don't happen with players that leave KD, bro. Like, they just regular guys again. You know what I mean? Like, people go and play with LeBron, and now they are sought-after commodities. There's a big difference in how you utilize these people. And, yeah, you might not be able to, specifically talking about basketball and winning championships. Yeah, you can't do it alone. And, yeah, you might need a Robin, and you might want a really good 3 and 4 guy. But you don't need to stack the deck that hard, bro. Like, that's the difference. And Tom Brady, yeah, he is definitely a fan of stacking the deck. Football's a little bit different, so I understand why he wants to chime in. But we talking about KD right now, and this man's ODing.
Dude, and that's my argument too, is like, hey, it's fine, you're right, like you want to be on the best team and everything. But don't talk about like, you know, hey, where's my individual legacy stand? You know, like where am I? You know, am I a top 10 player? Like I should be considered a top 10. I should be an MVP run. You know, he comes out kind of running his mouth to an extent of, hey, look at me. And meanwhile, he's got studs lined up next to him every time he's playing basketball. He also needs to have the self-realization of like, I am not putting myself in a position to say that I'm doing it by myself. Like, what is he saying with this tweet, though? There's nothing I can do by myself on this earth. You're not trying to. Like, you're not trying to. Like,
no attempt has been made.
Yeah, what do you mean? Like, you're mad about it? Why? You're not trying to do that. If you were trying to do it and doing it and nobody gave you credit, I would get it. Or if you're building a super team and then not going out saying, like, hey, where do I stand? Y'all should be comparing me to LeBron. Like, I mean, I don't know if he's really said that, but I feel like that's been a conversation in the media of, like, KD should be on the same level of those top 10 NBA players of all time. Like, you haven't put yourself in a position to be that player. So just keep quiet, win championships, have fun playing basketball because you're playing with a lot of good dudes. Go win your championships, but just, like, kind of tone it down a little bit with the conversation afterwards.
It's bad timing for the tweet because if he had said it, say, going into the season, when it's like, oh, you know, I'm teaming up with Kyrie, like, we've got some good pieces in here. They had LeVert, they had Dinwiddie, you know, Dinwiddie's hurt right now. LeVert is gone. But, you know, they had good pieces. Joe Harris. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I can't do this by myself. I'm teaming up with Kyrie. Like, we got these good pieces. Cool. Even if you said it after getting James Harden, right, which is still a bit of a stretch to me. But you're going to say it after compiling all these pieces. It's very ill timing on coming out and saying something like that.
You mean you were cool with those three, but it was Blake Griffin and Aldridge that threw you over the edge?
It's the fact that he said it at all. I don't care. It's like Cam saying, like, if I'm in his shoes, I just need to sit there and laugh to myself. Just sit back in my super nice home, I'm sure, with all my nice things, and just laugh and tap my fingers together like I've done it. But don't come out and say some shit like, I'm still the victim here. I can't do it by myself. I can't do anything by myself. Bro, what? And if KD would have said, I don't want Blake Griffin, I don't want LaMarcus Aldridge, the Nets would not have Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge right now.
But I think the thing is, like, he is the victim, though. Because everybody's mad at him that he's stacking the deck. How dare you, Kevin? How dare you go? But he said, but his point though is,
I don't think he's mad. I don't think anybody's mad. He's stacking the deck. I think he's mad. He's stacking the deck and then saying, "Look at me, look at me, look at me."
Woe is me.
No, he's saying that, like, you guys. Okay, people. If he went on to go to the Orlando Magic, I would love that, by the way. And let's say Kevin Durant with the Orlando Magic, which is currently blown up right now, won a championship. Would people say that that championship was deserved? The answer is yes. They would absolutely say that he deserved that. So now, he's going to the Nets, and a common complaint is, well, you didn't deserve that. Same thing when you went to the Warriors. You didn't deserve that. And so he's constantly hearing, like, okay, like, wherever I go, good people are around me. And you guys are saying...
He's constantly setting himself up to hear that.
But
he joined the Warriors, who just won the title. Name me another superstar that did that. You can't. It's never happened before. That's why people are upset. He goes to the Nets, and him and Kyrie alone, with all those pieces I named earlier, were already considered a top contender in the East. Meaning, if they make it to the championship, they got a 50% chance of winning that shit. They were already, let's say they had a 25% chance of winning the title when they first started. But then you want to add James Harden, and then you want to add Griffin, and then you want to add Aldridge, and then you want to put out this tweet, which is basically like, "Oh, woe is me! Like I'm just here to play basketball."
Right.
Just shut up. Just don't say anything.
I think he's mad. But I think what he's saying though is that, like, don't blame me for having a good team around me. Like, it's a team sport. So why are you guys upset that he has a good team around him? Right? I think that's what he's trying to say is, like, don't get mad at me because, like, oh, like, my championships aren't deserved. No, get mad at the fact that you didn't get to join that team, right? Like, he's good. If he wants to insert himself into any team, he can do that. Why? Because he's Kevin Durant, right? So don't get mad at him for being Kevin Durant and having the power to pull in a bunch of amazing players together. Like, don't get mad at him for that. Like, honestly, he's only able to do that because of how good he is. All right, Durner, I'm going to toss you this alley-oop. Are you ready?
No, I'm not ready. I got a fat neck, can't jump. Anyways.
Might have to clip
this
that.
This might be a stupid question, but do you think this is the biggest super team that we've seen in the NBA?
Oh, you can make an argument, dude.
Yeah.
Right. You have, I feel like, I don't know much about the NBA. I'll be honest with you, my former athlete fans. But what I'm saying is like, it started off with Bron going to the Heat. You had three. You had Bosh, Wade.
No. Go back. Celtics.
Way further back. Celtics. And you can go back before that, too.
You're right. My bad.
There's been big threes for a long time. People just chose not to speak about it until LeBron did it on his own accord.
Okay, so my question is, I feel like you got 5 or 6 top-notch dudes who could be starting in any other team who are on the same team, right? Is this the biggest squad? Is this the biggest super team that we've seen in the past 15 years?
Bro, well, okay, before they got these last 2 guys, when it was just KD, Kyrie, and James Harden, there was a lot of professional sports media people saying that this is the greatest offensive trio ever put together, which I would totally agree with. Like, those 3 guys can get buckets better than basically anybody we've ever seen in history, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they add these other guys, and Jonathan, I see you licking your lips, so I'm only going to make you wait a second longer. But to answer Durner's question, if you take into account previous like success and stature and more importantly basketball IQ when you put in there, because you got to think about the minutes that Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge have played as an all-star and played on successful teams as far as like being a playoff team goes, maybe not a championship contender. Those minutes count compared to a talented younger guy that's been on a dog shit team for a long time. Those minutes count as far as getting your IQ up. So all of that taken in consideration, yes, this is like a very stacked team. Aside from teams that have won multiple championships together, like you take the Bulls, like those guys, even though, you know, some of their lesser players weren't as talented as maybe some of the players that we're seeing now, they had that pedigree and they'd played together for a while. So they understood, you know, timing, where to be, when to be there, blah, 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 like to set things up. But just as far as raw talent, put it on paper, like you could definitely make the argument. Go ahead,
I mean,
Jonathan.
you could. I think real quick. I think like the Warriors would be the one argument you could make, like compared to now. But I think a lot of the Warrior stuff is based off success rather than just raw talent. To where like this team you're saying is just raw talent, probably the best players assembled onto one roster for the 1 year.
Yeah.
So let me ask. So first of all, do I think that this is probably one of the biggest teams? Like, yes, right. If you just look at it from a pure talent perspective, this is probably one of the best individual group of players placed together on a team. And I'm just saying that with just Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving alone, just those 3, people were already complaining that like this was going to be like super rigged, right? But let me ask you this: what if they were drafted? What if Kevin Durant moved to this team, right? And everybody else was drafted. How would we feel about it? Would we be okay with it? It
wouldn't be this team, bro. They wouldn't have these players if they were drafted. You saw what happened to the Thunder. This is essentially the talent of the Thunder had they been able to play together for 12 years. It don't work out like that. Right. The only reason it has worked out like that is because Blake Griffin was essentially a bum for 2 years and like was really low-key conning his way out of Detroit. And I don't blame anybody. I really don't. Like, if these players want to play together, that's fine. Like, that's not my like issue at all. And same thing with LaMarcus Aldridge. Like, you know how much money he was getting paid by the Spurs? Didn't he get bought out and then he got signed by the Nets? Both of those guys are getting paid less than people on like an average second-year contract. Yeah. I mean, they're getting paid essentially the minimum so they can play together. It's the same thing. That's why Tom Brady likes this shit. Because Tom Brady be talking to Antonio Brown into coming for playing fucking McDonald's twice a week. So you know, like, that's what these players are on the Nets. And I think that's why and once again, it's not even that I'm upset, and you know, we sports fans like myself are upset that they're together because if that's what you want to do, fantastic. I think that sets a precedent for more people to prioritize winning over like getting paid, especially in an industry where you literally get paid absurd amounts of money to literally do what you love. It's not like they're going out there and doing shitty stuff all day. No, that's fair. That's why they get paid. They're literally playing like you're getting paid to play one of the best sports in the world. But it's the manner in which they talk about it. No, you know what I mean? Like LeBron, like I can't remember him saying other things. The thing, LeBron got shit on 1 year when he was with the Cavs when he was saying we need another playmaker. Why? Because Kyrie was no longer there, and LeBron can't dribble the ball 100% of the time. And they're like, "Oh, LeBron, you don't have enough. You still got Kevin Love." Kevin Love struggling from mental health issues. He's not even there half the time, and they are roasting this man. But now KD has all these players and is like, ooh, so I just can't do it by myself.
Dude, to build on that real quick, and I don't know if anybody else had something to say, but like I definitely want to get this in, that the difference is that, okay, LeBron was on a stacked team, like KD was on a stacked team, but like KD's teams you could make the argument either way. It doesn't matter if you say LeBron had better teams or KD had better teams. The difference is that KD did not win championships when it was on his back. LeBron went in and he won. I mean, so he won 2 championships with a stacked team in Miami. But the reason that LeBron is considered the GOAT, or arguably the GOAT, whatever you want to say, is because he also took a team into 6 games against the Warriors in the finals without Kevin Love and without Kyrie playing by himself. And people were arguing he should have won Finals MVP on the losing team.
He should have.
Then he goes and he was down the next year. He's down 3-1 against the 73-win Warriors and came back and beat them. And then he went on to take the Kevin Durant-led Warriors. He never beat them, but he was putting up a hell of a fight against them with some – I mean, he had Kyrie and Kevin Love one year, but you would never compare that to the Warriors roster. And then the following years, I think he went in with Jordan Clarkson and George Hill and J.R. Smith, and he still put up a good fight. And then he goes to L.A. and wins championships. There's a different conversation when it comes to the legacy that Kevin Durant should just say, hey, I'm not there, and I'm not going to get there playing basketball with these type of players. Like, it's fine to do so. I'm not mad at you for doing it. Just don't expect to then be put on LeBron's level or MJ's level. Just don't expect it.
So, I think, okay, really quick, just to make sure I understand. If Kevin Durant went to the Nets and these players were already here, nobody would be upset. Like, would you guys personally be upset if the Nets had already drafted these people?
If they were already all there, don't give me this drafting stuff because
just yes or no. Would you be okay with it?
It's constructed how it is, and KD goes, well, I'm not going to play for the Warriors because people are talking all this shit. I'll go to this Nets team that has Kyrie, James Harden, Blake Griffin, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Yes, I'm talking shit.
Okay,
but I'm going to talk more shit if he tweets out like he does.
We talked shit when he went to Golden State.
That was
going to
be my argument.
All those players.
That was going to be my argument.
And he deserved to have shit talked on him when he went there too. In my opinion, it's not that he deserved that shit talk. It's that when he went, he was like, "Why is everybody like, thinking, why is everybody like so mad that I went to play and win championships?" Okay, we're not that mad you wouldn't play and win championships, but you were just talking a couple years before about how it needs to be done by yourself. Where's the competitive spirit?
No, I absolutely get it. As long as we're consistent, right? Because we can't be mad. Like, if we're gonna get mad that players are just hopping around to the best teams, like, as long as we're consistent with that, I'm cool. But I don't think this is an issue with the players. I think this is just an issue with, like, what Nick, you said a lot earlier, of just about like competitive spirit and just like that competitive and wanting to prove that you're the best, right? It seems like Kevin Durant, he just wants to play basketball, right? And I think, like, if he just wants to play basketball, like, and they say, Kevin Durant, like, you're getting all these good players, like, of course you're going to win. He's like, that's a team sport. Like, what do you want me to do? Just sit around, just play with bad people? He's like, no, of course I'm going to get the good people. Like, from his perspective, it's like, people, stop yelling at me about what I'm doing and, like, what teams I'm joining. If I want to play fun basketball, I'm going to get some fun players to play around, right? Like, I think he's just like, stop putting me, like, he probably thinks of himself as, like, one of the best players, right? I think he's one of the best, right? But the thing is like, I think there's just constant pressure every day that, like, every time we bring up Durant, we got to bring up LeBron, right? And I know I did it myself, right? I'm proof of it. But I think the point is, like, we're constantly having these conversations. Is it Michael? Is it Kobe? Is it LeBron? Like, we're constantly doing this stuff, right? And I think he's like, guys, calm the freak down. I just want to play basketball, right? I just want to win, right? He tried his best to do it on his own. I mean, with Westbrook, right? I think Westbrook blew it for him in OKC. I mean, that series was rough. Anyway, like, I think he's just beyond the point of, like his game will speak for itself, but along the way, like, he just wants to win, right? And I don't think we can fault him for being an amazing player and having the ability to pull people in, right? Like, we don't get mad at LeBron for being able to pull superstar talent, right? Like, I mean, and if he does get, like, crap for it, like, I think that's wrong, right? I wish I was good enough to be able to say, hey, you and you and you, come here. We're going to go form a super team and we're going to win, right? That's amazing. Like, that's a superpower in of its own, right? Forget about your ability on the court. If you can, like, be, like, le GM and just start picking people, like, I think that's even, like, that's impressive.
I just think he can't play the woe is me card. Like that's all I have to
Yeah.
say. Like,
No,
do,
that's
do
fair.
what you want to do, but don't expect people to like feel sorry for you or
Yeah,
anything like that.
exactly.
You know.
I think
And
he just
don't be
wants people off
pissy
his
when
back.
people say like, "Oh, that championship doesn't count for as much." One, they're entitled to have an opinion, just like KD makes it very apparent that he wants to have his own opinion, and that's fine. It's just like don't try to play both sides of the street. Like you're trying to hold us accountable and hold us honest for what we're saying. Yeah, I agree. Like if you want to play with good players, play with good players. But when people talk shit about like, "Oh, well, you did it with a bunch of superstars," okay, that's what you signed up for. Just know what you're signing up for, and also be consistent with it.
That's fair.
That's all. That's all.
Hey, I like it, baby. That was a good episode.
Honestly,
Episode
dude.
8.
Hey guys,
That was a good one.
I love
The Lamar Jackson, Cal Ripken, Baltimore sports fan episode. Episode 8 has wrapped up. We appreciate you guys joining. I am about to put pressure on the boys. You should see us releasing videos Monday, podcast Wednesday, hopefully other short videos on Friday. That's the new expectation for this channel. I put the pressure on the boys. Make sure we all follow through. So we'll catch you. Hey, we'll catch you Friday, I guess, then.
Oh.
We'll catch you Friday. Peace. Hey, everybody. Hope you liked that video. Make sure you smash the like and subscribe like I just smashed that dinger. Let's fucking go. Check us out next week.